Kendra Starks, and I'm a middle school teacher at a private Catholic school in Eastern Oregon. And I teach 3 levels in social studies, and I teach upper level math with pre-algebra and algebra. For competency number 1, the documents that I chose were from my action research. I was looking at the skills that the kids, my colleague and I talked about what skills the kids needed to be successful, and our 6th graders weren't very successful in following directions. So I focused on listening skills, and I did my whole research project on it. The pink line indicates the entire class, and the yellow line indicates the targeted students that had ADD in their listening abilities. And we see that after they were taught the listening skills, they went up. This is based on an SRA test that I gave them throughout the time. So I also have a cue card that I had them focus on, teach them what they needed to focus on in order to be able to listen better. So those are my documents for that. My second document that I have is we are a private school, so we haven't always been bound by curriculum standards and stuff, but we're trying to make sure we're focusing on the core, the Common Core. This is notes from a meeting with my colleagues and I. We jotted down all the things that 8th grade curriculum needed to cover, and we were trying to figure out which chapters it was covered in, so we would make sure that it was up to standards and that we were teaching them when we needed to teach them. So that's my second document. For my second competency, one thing that I thought was really interesting was in EDGR 535, we learned about the multiple intelligences. I hadn't really I remember learning about them a long time ago, but I hadn't focused on them. So what I did was I had my entire math class take the intelligence survey online, and then I made a chart that documented which intelligence they had. And the interesting thing about this was that another thing I learned in the leadership class is we always teach to our strengths. What I learned was that my strengths are not necessarily my kids' strengths, so when I'm teaching to my strengths, I'm not always addressing learning in the way that they're going to learn best. So that's what I learned from this, and some of the areas I'm weak in, music and nature, some of my students are strong in, so to not include those intelligences in my lessons was possibly, not teaching to my students the best way possible. The second thing that I have is I have a unit plan here that addresses the multiple intelligences. It is a unit on graphing linear equations, and I made sure that I had all of the multiple intelligences in there. I have, for interpersonal, I have journal writing. For intrapersonal, I have journal writing. For interpersonal, I have group activities and presentations. For nature, we did a scavenger hunt in the cemetery, which was great because it was a real-life example of a coordinate plane. For music, we wrote jingles about what we had learned. For math and logic, we graphed linear equations. For spatial, we interpreted graphs. For language, we did journal writing and exit tickets. And for the kinetic learner, we actually did the scavenger hunt where you walk through an actual coordinate plane. So it really addressed all the multiple intelligences of the kids in my class. The third competency, is my documents are, it's on establishing classroom climate, and the way that I like to keep my class organized is I do a readiness chart, and here's my readiness chart, but I didn't want to use names, so I just did their initials here. They get 5 points a day, and you keep track of things like if they forgot their textbook, or if they're talking, if they're absent, you take points off that way, and the kids are really aware of this, and they know what they're supposed to do, and if they mess up, that they miss points, and that usually really helps them to focus better. I learned about an EDGR 500, enhancing professional practice, the framework for teaching. Domain 2, the safe environment, is sort of where I came up with that. Also, another way I like to keep the class running smoothly is through bell ringers. And here are some examples of bell ringers that I use in my math class. I usually just use a half a sheet each day, and they pick it up when they come in and sit down and get started. And again, that really helps keep the classroom organized and efficient and running smoothly. For competency number 4, we're supposed to focus on knowledge of subject matter and research-based educational practices. One thing that I'm really proud of is the passport program that I've instituted into my school. At the beginning of the month, they get a map that has certain countries on it. They're pointed out here, and on the back they're just listed. And then at the end of the month they get tested. So they come before a parent. The parent comes in with a blank map and they test them and they point out where the countries are. And then at the end they actually have, this is mine, they actually have a passport with the countries here. And once you get them right, they highlight them and then they get actual stamps and stuff for them. So the kids actually have a something that shows their progress throughout the year. So this is something that involves parents. It's up-to-date knowledge. The last country that I think we had was South Sudan, and that was last year. My kids really get into this when they hear country names on the news, either Olympics or whatever. They come in and we have big discussions about it. So it really helps tie them to the world that they are in. The second document that I have for the competency number 4 is a medieval Europe lesson plan. And this one really focuses on an EDGR 595 community of learners, the TESSA, teacher expectations and student achievements. I have a lot of those important components in this one. Mediation of intentionality and reciprocity. Okay, so I have a lot of those things in there. And this one we do KWL charts, we do brainstorming, we have a study guide, graphic organizers. I do a lot of higher order thinking, predictions, journal writing, jigsaw activities. And also I'm trying to make sure that I give them lots of praise, and they do pair share and other things. I also have used the multiple intelligences in this one as well. So that's a document there. Competency number 5, we're supposed to collaborate with parents and colleagues and members in the community to provide better educational support for my kids. The first thing that I did, it's over here. First thing that I did was I wanted to document the, conferences that we have. Again, I went through and used an actual conference sheet that I had and just put initials on it so that I didn't have any kids' names on there. As you can see, we conference twice a year. We conference from 7:40 in the morning to 6:40 at night, and pretty much it's full. We have about 50 students in our middle school, and we conference with all of those parents and children twice a year, once in November and once in April. And it's a really important time for us to not only share the praises of the kids, but also their academic issues that they have, and also just to have the parents have an opportunity to touch bases with us. One thing that we do here at St. Mary's is we always have an open door policy too, where parents can come in whenever they need to and talk to us. And the other way that I was really excited about getting kids involved in the community was through a community improvement presentation or project that we do. I learned about an EDGR 535, teaching with the brain in mind, to tie the content to something relevant, something real life, and this is a great project. What I have them do is I have them go out into the community and survey 20 people and ask them what the biggest issue is within the community, and from those issues that they got from their survey, they have to pick one. And then they have to do a report on it. They have to interview people in the community that would know about that particular area. They have to do an oral presentation and a written presentation, and then they have to take that and do a presentation to some entity in the community that can do something to change it. Some of the topics we've had in the past are childhood obesity, the state of our sidewalks. We actually had somebody looking at that because there's too many cracks. We need more activities for children, and so they did a report on that. We've also had the state of our schools, because our schools are pretty run down, and so I've had kids really take some really big projects and put it into words that they can understand and really try and do something about it in the community. So that was something that's really a good thing. Competency number 6. I focused on establishing alternate goals and environment for learning where necessary. One thing that I really like to do is I really like to include games in class. In EDCI 546, we had to create an activity in week 4, And I've done a lot of I've played football before. Here's the rules and sort of the instructions on how to do it. I actually put it on the board as well. I like to make the kids make their own questions. They have 5-yard questions that are true and false, and 10-yard questions that are one-word answer, and 15-yard questions that are essay questions. And so we break up into 2 teams and we play football, and they move the football whichever way as a review. And they really like that. It sort of speaks to a different part of the brain, and so I usually get all the kids participating and enjoying that. The second thing that I have for competency number, what am I on? Oh, competency number 6 is another report assignment sheet. This one is a country report. It's similar to my country or my community improvement report, but it focuses on countries. In 6th grade, they do a Western Hemisphere country, and in 7th grade, they do an Eastern Hemisphere country. What I really like about that is the instructions are basically the same. So they do it one year and they're kind of not sure about it, and then they get feedback, and then they do it the next year, and they have learned how to do it better, and their projects are always better the second year. And it's just really fun for me to learn about different countries. This one in particular, her family is from this area, but also in the report, they have a report component, they have interviews, they also have travel treasures. So you have to find something that would be from that country and put a description on it and sort of tie it into the story itself. So she had some really interesting things to share in her country report. And there's the interviews there. I make them have quite lengthy interviews. Okay, for competency number 8A, nope, 7. Where am I at? You cut it off. I have, we're supposed to document and report the progress of students in achieving content goals and standards. We do progress reports often. About every other week we do that. We do official ones midterm, and we do other ones at the quarter mark and at the 3/4 mark. So we always make sure that the kids know where they're at and they know what they're missing. In terms of me keeping track of their progress throughout the years, I have a portfolio on every student, and so I keep all their tests and their documents that I've had sent home and brought back. So I have a portfolio on each. I've also started to think about, and again, I typed this up just because I don't want to put the name on it. I put an initial here. I thought about tracking, some of their important scores, like the test scores and the passport, so I can see where they've gone throughout the year. And this is just an example of one. That's competency number 7. Number 8A. I was focusing on using emerging research to help my teaching. What I found was in EDCI 556, Transformative Mathematics in the Differentiated Classroom. It had us look through a lot of journal articles. What I really liked is I found a lot of really neat ideas on how to teach probability in different areas in math. But what I liked was I found some journals that I think I'll be referring to quite often. One was a middle school journal, and the other was mathematics teaching in the middle school. I didn't really realize there were journals out there like that, and so from these classes I've learned about these journals that I intend to keep using and looking at for the rest of my career. The other thing for 8A is, this is my Washington State Teaching Certificate. While I was enrolled in the master's program at Concordia, I was also enrolled in the math program through Seattle. For 8B, improving opportunities for learning in your school is what I was focusing on. 2 programs that I am currently in charge of that I've put into place in our school are, one is called Math Counts. It's a math program that the kids come in to my room once a week. They volunteer to come in. It's all voluntary. And they give up their lunch recess in order to do high school math. It's upper level math. It's challenging stuff. They get to do it with a partner. We make it fun. They get to explain it on the board, and they get candy for certain things. But I have is, after learning about multiple intelligences, I thought it was really cool that I learned that my intelligence were different than the kids. So I had both the other 2 teachers in the school do their multiple intelligences and see what they ended up with. And see number 8C, collaborate with one's colleagues. Pretty much what I have here is staff meeting notes. We get together We get together every week, but every other week we meet as a full staff. And then on the opposite weeks, we meet in levels meetings. So I meet with the 6th through 8th grade teachers. So I obviously could provide way more of those, but and also it keeps us informed about what's going on in each other's classrooms. Often